Hey everybody, Julia Stock, Business Revolutionary with Be Astute. We're moving on with our A to Z of technical vocab for training providers, along with the lovely Suze Duncan. And this week we are up to I. It's got to be initial assessment, really. It is the starting point of our relationship with the learners. When we get it right, an awful lot of things come into play and we make our lives easier. When we get it wrong, we tend to be inundated with a whole bunch of learners that we probably shouldn't have taken into training, and a whole bunch of issues that we perhaps weren't aware about before we started training because, quite honestly, we didn't answer the question. Strategically, we need to decide what an ideal learner looks like, feels like, smells like. What kind of roles are they in? What kind of jobs are they doing? How does this relate into different qualifications, into different pots of funding? But it is that what they look like, feel like, smell like. And a lot of providers actually don't have an ideal learner. It's one of those things where you tend to find that more exciting once you've been spanked by Ofsted. Until that point, you can be quite idealistic. It's interesting that a lot of the new providers into the market are really ruthless in terms of this. They're really using initial assessment and ideal learner to ferociously manage risk. I think it's something where the more established providers in the market are perhaps too laid back in this area. This is not to say that you should be over specifying. I think you can be too risk averse in terms of the learners that you're accepting onto training. And that's often to the learner's detriment. They're being accepted onto programs where they're not being pushed hard enough. But at the same time, we need to balance that with the potential to overface a learner. And for years and years and years, I've had this continual pushback from employers and from learners, always wanting to be signed to the next level, not realizing the importance of doing the lower levels in terms of how knowledge and skill builds, how later qualifications make assumptions about what learners are doing. And of course, fundamentally within vocational education, it's about the job that you're doing. It's one of the big things that you hear kind of school careers advisors go, oh yeah, fantastic options, go and do an apprenticeship rather than go to university. Brilliant. But if I'm not doing the job, I can't do those higher level apprenticeships. And often we forget about that. And perhaps if we're less experienced, we forget that it's about competence in the workplace. That's what we're fundamentally assessing with a lot of these qualifications. So job role is important. Understanding learning difficulties and wider social difficulties is important. Functional skills. Someone's interest in learning has a massive impact as to whether or not they want to do this, as does their certainty about this qualification, where it fits. Have they always wanted to be and this is what the apprenticeship is that they're doing? Or is this the latest in a long line of experiments on I'm hoping this is the one? And that has a big impact in terms of learner dropout. The people who are very idealistic aren't necessarily better stayers, but they'll probably stick it out longer than somebody where this is the fourth or fifth change in direction. All of this needs to be encapsulated in really well-trained staff, really good data capture systems, so that we as senior managers actually have the opportunity to review those decisions quickly and to sense check. We also want to be doing a lot of this initial assessment before we go out and sign the learner. Because if we're not doing that, we can potentially be wasting a lot of time and effort and money on somebody that we're then rejecting. So be thinking about how you're organizing these things so that we can capture that data, review that we have the data, and be supervising the decisions that we're making. So initial assessment really isn't that boring after all. If you've got any questions, would like to know more about how you can make an amazing initial assessment, feel free to get in touch. Love to have a chat with you. I'm more than happy to have you pick my brains. Thank you very much.